Poems. So I've kind of reeved on this course a little bit, and we're going to start poems a little earlier than normal because students tend to like the poetry section. And then at the end of the next 8 weeks here, so at the very end of the course, there's going to be another essay, a formal essay that we write, and this will give you a better shot at choosing whether you want to do poems or drama, because I'm going to start to intermix them a little bit. So we're going to get right into poems. And poetry is a great literary topic. A, poems are generally shorter. B, they've changed a lot over the years. Whereas stories haven't changed all that much, and to some extent, even drama still is largely kind of the same thing. Poetry has changed dramatically. And ultimately, my biggest advice when we start to read the introduction is, first we're going to ask ourselves, what is poetry? And then we're going to notice that they're going to focus on literary elements, which is my biggest piece of advice, which I just said. My biggest piece of advice is to focus first on the literary elements part of it. The meter, the structure, we're going to get to. But for the most part, all poetry still has much of the same components that stories had and drama had. It has character, it can have setting, it can have imagery, it has a lot of metaphor, right? It can still fit so many of those things, and it becomes a very fertile ground for critique and analysis with very few words. Some poems are downright super short. Other ones are a little bit longer. So a few things that I want you really to focus on when we get into poetry is thinking, what is poetry? What do I like in poetry? Or to be open to other forms of poetry. And so I tended to really like the more contemporary stuff. But I was exposed to a lot of sonnets, etc. Some I like, some I didn't. And sometimes I took that little deeper dig for me to really appreciate some poems that I read maybe once, even twice. And I didn't get until I really, thought about it from a different angle or took it into perspective. Things like Ulysses by Tennyson, J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot, longer poems that were complex, and not until I really saw that background kind of, this image is this and it means that, and then it blew my mind wide open, and I thought, oh boy, now it's one of my favorites. And so even if you're not a big poetry person before this unit, don't fret, because you're probably going to find some things that you do like or some styles. There's a very, very, very broad mix in here of of different styles. And I don't theme them out any week. Like I don't do like a sonnets week. I intersperse them throughout. And so there should be, ones that you prefer, ones that you don't. But then again, give it a good close look, and maybe you will find that, right, you do like some poems that maybe you didn't like on first reading. Some of them, like Edgar Allan Poe's poems and things, you really want to think about the speaker, the narrator. Are they reliable, not reliable? What are they trying to say? When Lord Alfred Tennyson is Ulysses, you have to think and maybe have some context of what, Ulysses was, because this is an older, it's kind of like where Ulysses ended, and then he picks it up from there and says, oh, wait, this character still has conflict in his life. So, he did his whole Odyssey, literally the Odyssey, and now he's there. And is he happy? And Tennyson says, no, I don't think he is. And so, so really think about your speaker and your author in those ways. Your syntax, and naturally, like I said, your meter, but tone and imagery, these are the same things we've been talking about the entire time. So as you get into poetry, in this first section, think about what is poetry, and think about how it's still literature, and how the same elements still occur, and that should help you out a lot. Thank you.